I love nervous system work. I love talking about nervous system regulation and dysregulation. I love teaching this. I have been teaching this stuff, honestly, for at least 15 years. I don't think I knew it at the level that I know it now. And when I started learning about it, when I was a newbie counselor, I didn't teach it as much. But then as soon as I started learning about it and I started to know exactly what it was, I was like, holy shit, this is what everyone needs to know. Learning about it myself, it was so beneficial to me personally. It literally has changed every part of my life and how I move through life, how I relate to other people, how I work with other people. It's helped with my empathy and my understanding, not only of myself, but of other people. And it is, in my opinion, a completely vital part of therapy and coaching. I can't imagine I ever work with a client in any capacity where we don't talk about nervous system regulation, just because it matters so much to everybody and it really, really matters to sleep. Nervous system essentially is your brain and spinal cord. I want to tell you guys too, in case I have any medical experts in this group, the way I explain this is very rudimentary. It is very basic and it is so everybody can understand it. Everybody can get what they need to be able to make behavior changes in their life. So if you're like, oh my gosh, Melissa, you're not deep diving into the science. Well, you know what? I know it, but nobody needs to know that level of depth of the nervous system. I teach what everybody can learn and understand. And like literally 6-year-olds understand this. The little kids that I work with, they know their nervous system. Sometimes parents have been really surprised at what kids actually learn about themselves. So that is how I teach it. Okay. So I want to caveat that. Essentially, nervous system, brain, spinal cord, think of it as your body's command center that is constantly assessing for safety, for risk. Am I okay? Do I need to react? Or is it okay to relax? That's a high level overview of it. It is constantly, all the time, even when you sleep, it is assessing for risk. It is assessing for safety. And a lot of the time, what I notice is people have usually zero knowledge about their nervous system. Every once in a while, somebody knows something, but like when I get people in coaching or in therapy or just talking to people, anyone who wants to engage in a conversation about this, most people do not know about this. I did not know about this either. And my undergrad's in science. I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't know the practical. This is how it plays out in everyday life. This is how it feels in your body. This is how you can help yourself. This is how you can really shoot yourself in the foot by doing nothing or doing not good things. It is really important information to know. The nervous system is constantly assessing, am I safe? Do I need to act? Am I at risk? Is it okay to rest? And this is why it is essential knowledge in sleep. Sleep happens when your body feels safe enough to sleep. I always talk about being non-stimulated, non-aroused. That basically means you're relaxed enough that your body is like, yeah, I can sleep. Because if you're overstimulated, if you're aroused, and not sexually aroused, but like emotionally, cognitively aroused, like you're thinking about lots and lots of things, when you're stimulated, when you have a lot on your mind, like you're not going to sleep. And as you learn about this, you're going to learn, yeah, you're right, I can't sleep. In my program, I teach people, don't even go to bed when you feel that way. You need to regulate outside of your bed and then go to bed, and then you have a chance of sleeping. And then there's a whole procedure that you do if you cannot lower that stimulation. It is that important. If you don't feel safe, you are not going to be able to fall asleep. So I'm going to give you guys the model that I talk about with the brain. Think about, I always get out, this is not to code, this is not to like size anything, but it's just like a visual model, okay? So I always put my fists together and my arms together, and I say, pretend like this is your brain right here. See my thumbs? That's this part of your brain. So right behind your forehead, that is your prefrontal cortex. That's how we're gonna look at this. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna get my little saw, pretend little saw, I'm gonna saw it in half. And then we are looking at your brain from like the inside, okay? So this area here is your prefrontal cortex. When you are reacting from your prefrontal cortex, you're feeling calm, You're feeling regulated. You make good, wise decisions. You communicate clearly and effectively. You feel pretty good here. When you start to become what I call, broad term, dysregulated, okay? Here you're regulated. When you start to become dysregulated, you start moving to a completely different part of your brain. It's like about in here, like it'd be like back here, like in the center of your brain. That's called the limbic system. And inside the limbic system is a place called your amygdala. Your amygdala is responding to dysregulation. It's your command center is taking in information. You're feeling at risk. Maybe someone looks at you bad. Maybe something happens in traffic that's scary. It takes you from here to here. And in this area is when you start feeling dysregulated. There's lots of different things that happen in here. I don't have time in this video to go into that. I'll tell you fight, flight, freeze, fawn. There's 4 very different responses that happen here. But what happens is you move from regulation to dysregulation, okay? Those are 2 parts of your brain. So prefrontal cortex, amygdala, limbic system. The third part I want to talk about is at the base of your brain. It is your oldest part of your brain. It is what's considered the reptilian brain. So your brainstem, what your brainstem does is it controls automatic things that happen in your body. Heart rate, breathing, things like that. So your brainstem kind of like dances with these other systems, right? So if you're in your prefrontal cortex, your heart's probably not racing. You're not like pulse pounding. You don't feel like you're going to throw up or poop yourself or whatever. You're feeling calm. You're feeling regulated. When you start moving to your amygdala, your brainstem kicks in and it starts responding in different ways. Your heart rate speeds up. You get a lot of GI distress. You sweat. You shake. You do things like that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be like, I'm scared. Oh, better start shaking. Like that doesn't happen that way, right? Your brainstem is the thing that helps with that. It helps by doing all those responses. So the systems work together. Like I said, this is rudimentary. I deep dive into the nervous system in my program. It is embedded throughout the entire thing. It builds upon it. You learn, you learn, you learn, you implement, you learn, you implement, you know what it looks like for you. You learn things to help you regulate your nervous system. But this is a high-level overview of the nervous system, okay? So far, we've talked about the nervous system as the command center. It's constantly assessing, am I safe? Do I need to act? Is it okay to rest? It's looking at things like that. Your brain, prefrontal cortex, cool, calm, regulated, feeling good, feeling calm, feeling responsible, communicating well. Not a lot of problems happen when you're in your prefrontal cortex because you're doing what you want to be doing in life. Amygdala, that's a whole different story. That is dysregulation. So you are feeling anxious, you are feeling stressed, you want to give up, you're crying, you're emotionally all over the place. When you are having those reactions, you're in a completely different part of your brain. You are not in your prefrontal cortex. I want to talk about goals and why this information is helpful. If you were working with me, the goal that I would have for you is I would teach you what you need to know. And you are going to take that information and you are going to start learning about yourself. That means you're going to pay attention to yourself. Lovingly, non-judgmentally, not critically, but you're going to start paying attention to yourself. And you're going to be like, how do I feel? How do I behave? What are my thought patterns when I'm here? How do I behave? How do I feel? What are my thought patterns when I'm here? How do I notice when I'm here and when I'm here? And how do I notice when I start moving here? And how can I get back here? Okay, that's nervous system regulation skills. That can be things like deep breathing. That can be things like making sure you're eating so your blood sugar's not spiking. Staying hydrated. I'm always drinking my water. It's so good for you. But the goal would be to take that information and then to figure out what does that look like for me? And how can I use this information to help myself live the life I actually want to live? How can I start sleeping at night by regulating my nervous system and doing things that actually help instead of things that actually hurt me? How will I go to bed when I feel regulated versus go to bed highly stimulated, highly dysregulated, toss and turn, cry, get dramatic, have a terrible night, and then have that happen night after night after night? What my program does is it teaches you all that, and it teaches you how to change that, okay? How to identify it, how to change that. Let's say you're a real self-starter. You can watch this video and you can start deep diving into this and figuring this out. Like I said, the big picture, like even bigger picture, is you get really good at this and this becomes your lifestyle. You are able to constantly move through life, feeling your feelings, responding to what's around you, knowing enough about your nervous system that you're like, I got this. I'm not that person who's going to fly off the handle. I'm not that person who's going to yell at my partner or yell at my kids or freak out on my coworkers or go home and feel like my life is just so terrible and blah, 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 blah. You're actually going to regulate your nervous system. You're going to know how you feel. You're going to know how to work with yourself. And what that is going to do is it's going to help you sleep better. At the core of so many sleep problems, especially non-medical, I'm not talking about sleep apnea. I'm not talking about restless leg, those things that would be diagnosed by a doctor. Let's say you rule all that stuff out and you're like, I'm pretty sure this is like a nervous system problem. I'm pretty sure this is a behavioral and habitual problem, and I am just doing a lot of the wrong things. You're going to know that information about yourself, and you're going to be able to implement things that actually work, things that actually work with your body, with your nervous system, with who you are as a person, to make your life better, to make yourself sleep better, to allow yourself to have a good life where you're not flying off the handle and you're not completely dysregulated all the time and you have no idea what's going on. Another thing I want to add to this, a lot of the times what happens is I start working with people and teaching them all of this, and then they go out into like the real world outside of like the coaching room and they start trying it in real life and they're like, I couldn't do it. It was too hard. So my tip for everybody always is don't try it when you're in a full-on, completely dysregulated, high-stress situation. Ideally, you do this enough and you start learning how to notice when you're moving into this part of your brain and to get yourself here. But you're going to have a really hard time if you've never effectively regulated yourself in a high-stress situation, and that is the first time that you try it. What I do recommend people do is they start implementing things like relaxation, check-ins with their body, put a timer on your phone and check in, 3 or 4 times a day. Identify how you feel. Identify if you're here or if you're here. And if you're here, start trying to work your way back here so that you have those skills. It's like volleyball. You don't know how to do an overhand serve. Like, it's very lucky if you hit your overhand serve first off, right? You have to practice these things. You have to learn the skills and you have to get better. And then what happens when you play a sport? Maybe you guys are volleyball players. Sometimes you hit an overhead serve into the net, even when you're a really good server. And that happens in real life too. Like, you go out there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm learning all these new skills. Things are so much better. And then boom, you have a really bad night of sleep, or boom, you have like a knockdown, drag out, hopefully not a physically violent fight with your partner. And you're like, everything I've learned, like, I don't feel like I know anything. It's not always going to be 100% successful, even when you've learned it and you're efficiently and effectively able to regulate your nervous system. That's how life is. Life does not just like you hit a goal and then you're like, cool, I'm going to coast forever. Nobody's life works like that. That was a lot of information about nervous system. I hope you guys got something out of it. Like I said, this is a basic, really high level overview of nervous system, taking into account the 3-part triune brain, prefrontal cortex, the limbic system, and brainstem, and then talking about how it feels when you're here versus here, the overall goals of what you would want to be learning and being able to do after a period of time with your nervous system. Nervous system regulation is, in my opinion, completely vital. It is what my entire Your Best Sleep program is built upon. It's built on sleep science, but it also hits so hard nervous system stuff and other things too. If you've been following me for a while, I have a signature 8-week sleep program that, in my opinion, is the best sleep program I've ever seen. And if you guys know me, I'm actually pretty modest. I'm really, really proud of this program. I think it's amazing. The people who have done it have really changed their sleep. One person said it gave her life back, and it's just so cool. But that is my signature offering. So that is a program. It's 8 weeks long, and you work through it, and then you work with me too once a week. I have a DIY offer where you can get into my program, but it's completely on your own. It is at a much lower price point, and it does have the option, if you get into it and you're like, whoa, actually need support, you can upgrade and you just get the price taken off that you paid to get into the first program, the DIY one. So that is completely independently, and it is at a lower price point. Then you have my signature offer, which is the 8-week coaching program where you go through it and then you meet with me for weekly coaching in a group setting. And then I also have a VIP offer that is completely new. I'm super excited about it. This is for people who really are craving that one-on-one, okay? So it is going through the program. So you get access to everything in the other programs, but then you get one-on-one access to me for the duration of the program plus some additional time. It is at a higher price point, clearly, because like you get like one-on-one access, but I'm so excited to be able to have 3 actual offerings to my program. They're ready to go. I can take people in them. I want to talk to you to make sure it's a good fit for you. That's actually really important to me. I honestly don't just want your money. I want people who are ready to change their sleep, who really, really feel like they can change their sleep. Like, I want people who believe that they can change, who are ready to change, and who are ready to change in the right way. So if that is you, hit me up. We can do a free call. I can tell you about the programs, make sure it's the right fit for you. I do have a couple of things to screen out, like certain things that might be going on with your sleep, because again, I want you to be a good fit for the program, and I want it to be like a screaming success for you. I don't want you to be like, oh, I don't think this was the right program for me. I don't really think I should have done this. Like, I don't want that. Don't want it, okay? Don't want your money. Don't want that to happen to you. Don't want that to happen to me with my program. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Take care.